Sorry guys, I had to rage a little bit before we did this music reaction. Welcome back to the podcast, Nurture the Mind. I am your host, Cole Poots, and we have once again another music reaction. Haven't done this guy in a second. Figured that we would bring him back to the channel because 9 days ago he dropped a new song, a new music video for this song. It is Tom MacDonald. He's been on the channel many times. And the song is called Anti. Looks really short, 2 minutes and 38 seconds, so it's gonna go by quick. But, you know, the guy, I feel like, talks about a lot of different subject matter stuff, so there's probably going to be a lot to dig into. And you know what, I just feel like ranting today. I feel like talking about politics, cultural stuff, societal stuff. I went out with my friends last night for my 29th birthday yesterday, and I was talking to a lot of my friends about the issues and the things that are going on in the world. So we'll see what it spurs. When he says anti, I'm not entirely sure what he's referring to. Antichrist? I mean, that would be my obvious number one guess. But who knows? He could take it a completely different route. 2 minutes and 38 seconds. What twists, what turns are we going to go on with Tom MacDonald?
They a bunch of Satanists, criminals, murderers, and pedos. We all pray to God while they worshiping the devil. Yeah, it's Hollywood, the royal family, politicians left and right. They seem anti-American, they anti-Christ. They anti-Christ. They anti-Christ. They seem anti-American, they anti-Christ. It ain't left and right no more, cause now it's good and evil. They used to call it a conspiracy, but now it's real. We seen the files and the facts, don't care how you feel. They having pizza parties, and that means they eating people. This might wake them up. QAnon didn't make it up. Missing kids got flown to Jeffrey's Island by who paid enough. The rich and famous, the young, eat human flesh. It ain't for fun. It's ancient ritual, sucking adrenochrome from baby's blood. They call us crazy, but they should be behind bars. They call us liars because they don't want to get charged. They call us conspiracy theorists, but in their hearts they know all the names they call us ain't as bad as what they are. They all Satanists, criminals, murderers, and pedos. We all pray to God while they worshiping the devil. Yeah, it's Hollywood, the royal family, politicians left and right. They seem anti-American, they anti-Christ. They anti-Christ. They anti-Christ. They seem anti-American, they anti-Christ. It ain't a culture war no more, the real fight is started. We've been up against each other, but now we the targets. It's the rappers, it's the actors, the elites in charge. It's kings and queens, they all bowing to the prince of darkness. Things ain't getting better, they run the world with rich investors. The cult came from Egyptian deserts, now they cannibals and Gucci sweaters. Using AI to fuel agendas, control the news, the truth, the weather. Now we're ruled by a group of dudes who are all satanic child molesters. They call us crazy, but they should be behind bars. They call us liars because they don't want to get charged. They call us conspiracy theorists, but in their hearts they know all the names they call us ain't as bad as what they are. They all Satanists, criminals, murderers, and pedos. We all pray to God while they worshiping the devil. Yeah, it's Hollywood, the royal family, politicians left and right. They seem anti-American, they anti-Christ. They anti-Christ. They anti-Christ. They seem anti-American, they anti-Christ.
Really fast. I was right. He said Antichrist. He also talked about being like anti-American. It took a different twist though than what I was expecting. I didn't realize he was going to be talking about the Epstein Files, the whole Epstein situation, the pedophiles, the Satanists, the elites, all across the globe that are complicit in this massive blackmail ring that Jeffrey Epstein had going. But Jeffrey Epstein was a plant of different agencies. You know, you would think maybe the FBI, the CIA, our government, foreign intelligence, foreign governments. I mean, that man was put there for a reason, just like Diddy was also put in his position for a reason. And if there are people that exist like Jeffrey Epstein and there are people like Diddy that exist, you would have to critically think about it and admit to yourself that there's probably way more Diddys out there. There's probably way more Jeffrey Epsteins out there, and they exist in every different facet and segment of life. So like Diddy was for rap and for hip hop, and I guess there wasn't really a specialty for Jeffrey Epstein because it was like Hollywood, it was actors, it was people in the government, politicians. So it wasn't just one segment. But my point being is that like those are not the only two individuals that engaged in the type of activities that they were doing and what they were hosting and what they were setting up. So I agree pretty much with everything that he said. The thing that it makes me think about that he didn't address in this song is there is a shift that is starting to go on in the MAGA movement, in Trump's corner, for the people that voted for him, which I have said on this channel before, at least a few different times. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not going to try and hide it. I'm not afraid of what people think about me. In 2020, I voted for Donald Trump. And in 2024, I voted for Donald Trump. 2016, I had no idea what was going on with politics. I voted for Gary Johnson, who ran as the independent, because one of his biggest issues that he was campaigning on was legalizing marijuana. And it was like at that time, it was like that's one of the few things that I cared about, because at that time I was smoking weed. So to me, it's like, oh my God, this is a huge priority. So I'm not ashamed that I voted for him, but there's a rift that's going on in the MAGA movement, but also for, say, you know, people like me that are probably middle of the road, moderate, independent. The people that are still very logical, very logically driven and critical thinkers that were like, okay, we have to go with Trump. The alternative of Kamala is terrible. The alternative of Joe Biden is terrible. The alternative of Hillary Clinton is terrible. But there's a rift that's going on, especially here recently. And it's hard to tell what's going on, right? Because I say all the time on this channel, like, I refuse to believe legacy media on both sides, whether it's CNN, whether it's a Fox News, whether it's left-leaning, whether it's right-leaning, because both sides of the spectrum is total brainwashing and trying to convince you of a narrative, an agenda, or that side's objective, whatever they are trying to accomplish. Trump's approval rating was going down in this second term, and then he decides to go over to the Middle East and start the strikes on Iran. And after he did that, his numbers went down even further. And I think a lot of people are sitting back and they're questioning, and they're like, why would you do something like that? You campaigned on America First, and you campaigned and you bragged about how in your first term there was no conflicts, we weren't going to war, we stayed out of it, we were the peacemaker of the world, the economy was getting better, and that's what you ran on. And in part, people bought into that idea because that's a good idea. That's a logical idea. That's a sensible idea. Like, our country, meaning the United States of America, is really fucked up right now in a number of different ways. And I think it is highly irresponsible for us to go start some type of war or conflict when we do not have our country put back together. You have to focus internally before you can go focus on the rest of the world. We've all heard that quote and that saying that is so timeless. You have to put your own house in order before you go out and you judge and you criticize the rest of the world. If we were pristine in the United States of America, then maybe I would not have a problem with what he's doing if it actually does benefit the United States in the long term. And maybe it does. And maybe I just don't realize that just yet. But I don't understand it. And I'm trying to tie this in. I'm just talking about what I hear, the speculation that is out there. People are upset with Trump. The left is always going to be upset with Trump. So let's not even take them into consideration right now. I'm talking about people like me that voted for him. I'm talking about people that are actually ultra MAGA, MAGA Trump dick riders, which I would not put myself in that category. The people that voted for him, whether they are a heavy supporter or they just thought he was the best option for the job, people are starting to think to themselves with what has been going on here recently, recent actions is you are not abiding by what you promised when you campaigned this time. And what is the reason for that? Before we had, or right around the time maybe with the things that were going on up in Minnesota with the fraud that we found out about in Minneapolis, and then you had the ICE shootings of the two individuals, the girl and then the guy, was it Nicole something and then Alex something. And in the midst of all this too, we're getting more dumps of the Epstein Files. And from what I read in the Epstein Files that had been recently released, it did not show, there was no convincing evidence that Trump was guilty of any wrongdoing. Actually, the story that he has always told in the public, which is basically that yes, he knew Jeffrey Epstein, he was around him, but when he figured out that Jeffrey Epstein was a pile of fucking shit, there was a time where Donald Trump actually kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago. And so it seems to fit with Trump's story in the last release of the Epstein Files that we got. But it's in that dump, and as things are starting to come to light, then it feels like after that, now we have distraction after distraction after distraction after distraction. Things up in Minnesota, we were starting to learn about the fraud that was going on, and you have to admit to yourself that if that level of fraud is going on in one segment of the United States up in a place like Minnesota, then it's probably going on everywhere else in the country, in every other state in the country. I think that is fair to make that sort of conclusion, that sort of judgment from what we found out about. But it's every time there is some type of unity amongst the American people, despite what side of the political spectrum you're on and the political ideology that you hold, it's every time we get closer to the truth, the fraud, the Epstein Files, then it's another massive distraction to get us talking about something else and to not really focus on what is truly important. And it just looks really fishy. It looks really suspicious from all angles, because it's why is America so fucking pro-Israel? We've been pro-Israel for such a long fucking time. And this has always been the constant threat, that Iran is so close to building their nuclear missiles and they're going to shoot them off. And so we have to go over there and we have to quell this and we have to quench it and shut it down before it even gets started. Well, this has been going on for the last 40 or 50 years and nothing has happened. So why is this the narrative that keeps getting spun around? And why is it that in every generation that's existed in this country, every generation has had to go fight some type of war or go fight some type of conflict? I'm sick and I'm fucking tired of it. Like, you know, innocent Americans have to go off and they have to die for this fucking country. And I know, like, they're patriotic and that's what they signed up for, but it's like, we do not need to be involved in these things, and we do not need to get our citizens killed. What I wish was actually in place, say for a guy like Trump, say for any type of politician that has ever advocated for us to go to war or some type of conflict that was unnecessary. It's like, okay, so if you're the politician and you're the one that's pushing for this, how about you go serve? How about your fellow politicians in your party? How about they go serve? How about people in your family, your immediate family? So let's just use the example of Trump. How about your kids? You know, how about Barron? How about you send those people over there to go fight because you're so passionate about it and you believe that this is what we need to do. Meanwhile, of course, like, you're not going to go fight that. You're not going to go be involved in that conflict. I just don't understand it because of the way that he campaigned. And now we're involved in this. And it feels like a distraction. It feels like, hey, we were starting to get some ground and some traction. How about we look over here? And again, from what I've seen, I don't think Trump is compromised by the Epstein Files. But what I'm saying is that by him doing some of these moves and taking the focus and the attention away, it doesn't look good for him, right? Like, it makes it look like he's trying to cover something up. Like, why don't you want to talk about? Again, that's another thing that he campaigned on, was releasing the Epstein Files. He said he was going to go in. He said he was going to drain the swamp. Our government is still bloated. We're still in massive amounts of debt. I understand that we can't change all of these things because these are complex topics and issues. And so you can't fix them in one swig. Like, he's only been in office for his second term for like over a year. I understand all of that, but I'm saying, like, what you campaigned on. And he said that he was going to go in, he was going to bring the hammer down, he was going to arrest corrupt politicians and other people like Fauci. Where's the arrest of Fauci? Kash Patel, you know, who's in your cabinet. He said on day one, if they get elected, when they get into office, they're going to release all of the Epstein Files. Day one has well surpassed. And we've gotten some Epstein Files, but we haven't gotten all of them. So it's like, what the fuck, man? Like, don't make promises if you can't fucking keep those promises. I mean, it should be that simple. It should be that well understood. And I'm sick and tired of the distractions, and I'm sick and tired of, oh, look over here, don't look over there. It's like, you know, American citizens got to get smarter at some point, and they have to realize what the fuck is going on. And the unfortunate thing is there's still a lot of people that are fucking stupid, and there's still a lot of people out there that are not awake and they are not aware. I understand, you know, the people they got Trump derangement syndrome, like they hate him no matter what. I think those people are fucking crazy too. But it's like, dude, put those types of frustrations aside and let's all collectively unify so we can actually make some type of change. The unfortunate thing is I think it's going to get a lot worse in this country before it gets better. Not to just try and tie all of this in because we're talking about Tom MacDonald and and basically his song, you know, talking about the Epstein Files and the pedophiles that exist across our government and Hollywood, part of different countries, their regimes, their politics in those different countries. Yeah, that's something that we should be enraged about, and we should demand accountability for things to actually change. If again, because I live in America, so I'm using everything in America as an example, if the collective citizens of this country unified under one common oath and principle and said this is no longer going to happen, I'm not saying that it would change overnight, but I'm saying like we would start to move towards some real change. Because if you think about it, the population size of America is much more massive than our government, and we are much more massive than the top 1,000 global elites that run the entire globe. There's probably roughly 1,000, under 1,000, maybe a little bit more than 1,000 people collectively that make all of these decisions that impact the rest of the people on planet Earth. And so if we all unified, I mean, we could overthrow a government. We could overthrow a regime. The only unfortunate thing is I don't think people are ready for that, and I'm not sure that people know what that looks like. And so we are fortunate enough, as bad as things are and as bad as things seem to be getting and continuing to go down that path, we still have our freedom of speech. We still have the freedom to bear and carry arms. And I feel like those two things right there, I don't own a gun, but like seriously, I think everybody in this country should own a gun. If it comes down to that, it could potentially come down to that. I don't think that's conspiratorial. I don't think that's paranoid, dude. I think we got some legitimate fucking problems on our hands that could blow up on our soil in our face. And you know, because America has been great for so long, right? And it's been so easy for Americans, we think that like we're untouchable or we're immune to these things. Like we've had it so easy, and then you add in the technology and how fucking lazy and complacent and content that right there has made us. I hate to break it to you guys, but America this year has been around for 250 years, which in the grand scheme of things, for how long our planet has been around, which I know there's speculation on that, but it's probably millions, potentially billions of years. 250 years in the grand scheme of things for how long we've potentially been around, that is a blimp. That is a blimp on the fucking radar. And just because, you know, we've had this country for 250 years does not mean that we aren't susceptible to losing it. Our government, our politicians have become so corrupt, so bloated, and it feels like right now collectively all across the world evil is prevailing over good. And I know that good is more powerful in the long term, but I feel like in the short term and maybe the medium term, evil is prevailing right now. And so we could get conquered. We could lose our country. You know, maybe like in my parents' generation, maybe we won't see it in that timeline. But for me, you know, I just turned 29 yesterday. It's like, you know, in my lifetime, that's something that could happen if this if this ship does not get turned around. And I'm saying like dramatically in the matter of seconds, like it has to happen soon. And I just don't know if people are ready for that. You know, it hasn't gotten to the physical violence just yet, but that might be what is required in the future, you know, like people like to think that, oh yeah, you know, it's safe and it's isolated over here. It's like, bitch, do you not fucking realize that every country that exists, every territory out there, because of our tribalistic nature as human beings, the way that we get a hold of a country is you have to go over, take that land, conquer it, and establish yourself. That's what happened with the United States of America, our founding fathers, and how they came over. They conquered this land. That's how it happens. America's not that old. Look at a civilization and an establishment like China. China has been around forever, dude. Way longer than the United States. They are established. They are older. They are wiser. We had this idea of freedom, which is a great idea in principle. Capitalism, a great idea in principle. I think those things work, but they have to be upheld. And yes, we are a powerhouse, but we could certainly lose that title and that status of being a powerhouse. I don't understand these moves of Donald Trump. I don't know if it has anything to do and to tie in with the pedophile shit. That's not my claim. That's not what I'm saying about Donald Trump. I'm just saying, and he has to understand this, because contrary to, you know, popular belief of the Trump derangement syndrome activist, they fucking hate this guy and they think that he's brain dead and he's stupid. It's like, dude, he's smart. And that's what worries me, is like, he's not fucking dumb. Like, he is a smart guy. He's a business-minded guy. He knows strategy. He knows negotiation. So why are you doing these things? Is it to cover something up? Are you just really surrounded by bad people, bad advisors, bad counsel that's just, giving you bad information? I feel like that's what happened in his first term. And it's like, I think one of Trump's biggest downfalls and weaknesses is that I don't think he ultimately knows how to be a great leader. And I don't think that he knows how to take criticism from other people. I feel like he surrounds himself with yes men and people that are just going to agree. And that is not the sign of strong leadership, because if you're a strong leader, you're going to take into consideration all of the thoughts and the opinions of the people around you, and then you're going to make the best decision based off of that. And you have to have an ego, right, to do anything great in life. You have to have an ego. You have to have confidence. You have to know that you are the shit if you're going to be the president of the United States. But even somebody that has an ego like that, they have to be able to pull their ego back, listen, learn, get constructive criticism, get feedback, and have people disagree with them. Because, like, I don't care who you are and how big your ego is, we're still human, so we're still flawed. And even the president of the United States is prone to making some mistakes here and there. So, like, you got to have a good team around you. I'm just not sure that that's what he has. And I'm afraid, because, where his numbers are going and they're tanking and the approval rating is down. Like, we got midterms this year, and if Americans vote over Democrats, which, again, I'm in the middle. I'm not saying we have to vote conservative over Democrats. If there were some really good Democrats out there that I believed in, like, I would vote for them. I'm afraid what's going to happen, though, is a lot of people right now on the left, a lot of people in the Democratic Party, again, Trump derangement syndrome. So if they win in the midterms and they get in, exactly what they're going to do is the same thing that they did in his first term. They're just going to try to impeach him, and it's going to stall everything out. And we're going to have another stagnant 4 years of a presidency, and that's not what our country needs right now. Like, even though you can make some hard decisions that might hurt us in the short term, like, we need to start turning this ship around, because we are getting very, very close to the point of no return. And I wish that there were more people that were standing up and were shouting. And even if you had a small platform like YouTube, it's like using your voice and expressing that over the platform, or having the type of conversation that I'm having with you guys right now over the camera, like having this type of conversation with people in real life. That's what was happening last night with my friends. I was talking about it with my friend Tanner. I was talking about it with my friend Andrew. I was talking about it with my friend Jimmy. It's like, I think even if we differ on like policies and politics, it's like most Americans want a lot of the same things. And if we're not careful, we're going to lose a lot of those privileges that we have been accustomed to enjoying for quite some time. None of this freedom that we have, and a lot of it is this illusion of freedom that we have in America, because we're not really free, right? Like, we're really oppressed. We are taxed to no end. And then they take our tax dollars, and then they commit fraud, like up in Minnesota, or like in the Biden administration, they let all of the illegals over the border, or they take our tax dollars and they use it for war and weapons. Like, those things are costly, the amount of money that we are spending to go do this conflict right now. But who benefits in that situation? Probably politicians getting some type of kickback from special interest. Definitely the military industrial complex. They benefit when we go to war, when there's conflict, because then they make weapons, they make missiles, and they profit off of that. Tom's right, man. I mean, one of the biggest things that we should be focusing on right now is getting back to demanding accountability for what's in the Epstein Files, and we want to see more. but then pulling back our focuses to the United States. If we were 120 fucking percent all right, okay, then maybe you can go police the world. And again, I don't even know what the logical argument is for what we're doing right now. I haven't found anybody out there that has explained it effectively. Like, why are we doing this? Apparently there is some type of imminent threat. It's like, why don't we step the fuck away from Israel and let them deal with their shit? Because every time Netanyahu does something, and gets involved in these conflicts, it's like, oh, big brother fucking United States always coming there to save the day. It makes people think that Trump is being grabbed by the fucking balls by Netanyahu. It makes it look like Trump is compromised. And that whole Epstein thing, I've heard through podcasts and whatnot, again, this dude was hired by Israeli foreign intelligence. So maybe their country, they have so much dirt, say on Trump or other people, and that's where it's like, if we don't abide, if Trump doesn't abide, then he's going to get blackmailed. I don't know. There's so many things at stake. And then it's like the people that want to comment with absolute certainty, you're fucked up too. How the fuck do you know? You're not there. You're not in these meetings. You're not having conversations with Trump. So that's like what people also need to fucking stop, like on both sides, wherever you sit at in the aisle, is talking with certainty. Like, all of us speculate and talk about it, but none of us actually fucking know. And that's why Americans are so upset, is because we just want fucking transparency. We, in large part, we don't trust our government and we don't trust legacy media. And there's big reasons for that because of how many times they have lied to us and they've done shady shit. So like, if you wanted to restore trust in the public, then you ought to be transparent and you ought to lay it all out on the table so we can start fucking fresh, regardless of the consequences that happen. Maybe Trump really is a good guy. And, in Butler, Pennsylvania, when he got his ear chipped by the bullet, somehow did not die. That right there could have been a warning shot from the left or the higher up saying, like, Trump, we see what you stand for. You are everything anti that we want to do and we want to accomplish. That's a warning shot. If you keep pressing on these issues, if you really try to fix those problems in America, you're going to get shot in the fucking dome. I don't know, man. It's speculation. I don't think it's out of the realm of all possibilities, but that's where it's like, I'm a thinker, and I feel like a lot of people don't think about it that deeply, don't think about it that critically, but you have to. Otherwise, you're thinking of everything in like surface level and you have no idea what the fuck is going on. We're all trying to make sense of it. So do not go out there on your moral fucking high horse and pretend like you know everything that's going on and you're the one that's getting all of the news and all the sources of information that are just being filtered to you and nobody else. Fuck that, dude. That's a very arrogant way of thinking, and I can't stand people that act like that. Anyways, guys, I didn't even really talk about the musical element. Like, it was bobbing. You saw me. I was bobbing my head a little bit. It's more so just the subject matter and more so like what it made me think of. I hope that all made sense. That was a gnarly fucking rant right there, although I feel like it was pretty directed. I lost my train of thought a few times, but then I brought it back onto the tracks. Definitely when you're talking about complex issues like that, it's like your brain is gonna go off in those areas or those corridors every once in a while, so I can't really hate myself for it. Guys, I think that's the end right here. We're gonna call it because I got some other things to do. Gotta go hit my workout. As always, as we close it out, checklist items, 4 things that I ask that you guys do. You don't have to do all 4, but please do one of the 4, especially if you came over here, if you got value, if you thought it was entertaining, it wasn't a waste of your time, if I provided value, if it was good content. Either you can like the video, you can subscribe to the channel, you can comment in the comment section below, or you can share this message on social media, on the interwebs, or via word of mouth by talking about it with another person. Basically, if you do one of those 4 things, you really help the algorithm of YouTube, and you basically promote my content and push my content out there in front of more people, trying to get more eyeballs and more clicks, because at the end of the day, I continue to do this for more than 6 years because I love doing this, whether it's music related or if I'm just doing a podcast, if I'm doing anything creative and being able to express myself in this type of outlet, I love it. There is, especially when I'm doing something solo, like there is no interruption with another person. Like it is just like me and my thoughts, and I get to convey my thoughts out to you guys. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a great week ahead. I'm filming on the weekend. Try to get this out early next week for you guys. So have a great start to your week. Well, I guess whenever it gets out there. I love you guys. Take care, and I will see you on the next podcast. All right, bye-bye.